I'm 69 years old. It's a serious number. It's not quite ancient history yet, I know that. But let's be honest with each other. I am definitely in the fourth quarter of the game. The clock is ticking, and I can hear it a lot louder than I used to. I'm sitting here today because I have something I need to get off my chest. You see, there was a robbery, but it wasn't a bank heist. Nobody broke into my house with a crowbar to take the TV or the silverware. There were no police called. There was no investigation. It was something much quieter than that. It happened slowly, day after day, year after year. The crazy thing is, I was the robber, and I was also the victim. I stole my own life. Everything you think you know about getting older is completely wrong. You think you figure it out as you go. You don't. You see, I spent the first 47 years of my existence sleepwalking. I was running around. Sure, I was busy. I was signing papers, shaking hands, raising kids, driving nice cars. From the outside, looking in, it looked like I was crushing it. I had the career, the house, the respect of my peers. But inside, I wasn't even there. I was on autopilot. I was just going through the motions, checking boxes, trying to meet everyone else's expectations. It wasn't until my 47th birthday that I actually woke up. And it wasn't some big party that did it. It was just a regular Tuesday, raining a bit outside. I walked into the bathroom to shave. I wiped the steam off the mirror, and I just stopped. I stared at myself. And for the first time in decades, I really looked. And I realized I didn't know the guy looking back at me. I saw a guy who had done everything society told him to do: get the job, climb the ladder, make the money, buy the stuff. I was a success on paper, but looking into my own eyes that morning, I realized I was completely empty. I was just a shell, a husk of a person. That was 22 years ago. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, hey, 47 is still young. You had plenty of time to fix it. You surely turned it all around. And yeah, I did fix some things. But that's the tragedy I need to talk to you about. As the warning I want to burn into your brain, whether you're 30 or 60, because I'm not going to lie to you. By the time you hit 47, some cement has already dried. Some bridges you burned in your arrogance, you can't rebuild them. The water has gone under the bridge, and it's not coming back. My body kept the score of how I treated it, and the bill came due. I'm 69. I found some peace, sure, but I can't look you in the eye and say, it's never too late. That's a nice thing to put on a greeting card, but it's not true. For some dreams, for some relationships, for the version of the man I could have been, it is too late. That ship has sailed. But if you're watching this, you still have time that I don't. So I want to tell you what it took me 47 years to figure out. I want to save you from tasting the same bitter ash of regret I taste every morning with my coffee. Let me tell you the biggest lie you're probably telling yourself right now. I have time. You know what the most dangerous word in the English language is? It's not hate. It isn't war. It isn't even failure. It's later. For 4 decades, later was practically my religion. I worshipped it. I looked at the present moment, right now, today, as just a waiting room. I thought now was just an inconvenience I had to get through to get to the good stuff. I was addicted to the future. I told myself the same lies you're probably telling yourself. I'll work these 80-hour weeks now so I can relax later. I'll skip the family vacation this year so we can afford a luxury one later. I'll get healthy later. I'll write that book later. Here is the hard truth I learned at 47, and it still haunts me at 69. Later isn't a real place. It doesn't exist. It's a trick. You never get there. You just keep saying later until you run out of time. I see young people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s, and they're all saying the same thing. When I make more money, then I'll be happy. When I get that promotion, then I'll relax. When the kids are grown, then I'll travel. Let me save you 50 years of regret with one simple truth. That day never comes. You know why? Because the goalposts keep moving. You get the promotion, and suddenly you need the next one. You make more money, and suddenly you need more money. You're always chasing something just out of reach. I have a memory that plays on a loop in my head, usually around 3 a.m. when I can't sleep. My daughter was 7 years old. She came into my home office on a Saturday. She had this bright red ball in her hands. I was working on some spreadsheet. I thought it was critical to the survival of the universe at that moment. She asked me to throw the ball with her in the backyard. I didn't even look away from my screen. I just waved her off. I said, "Not now, sweetheart. Daddy's building a future for us. We'll play later." She didn't argue. She just turned around and walked out. By the time I finally got to later, by the time I felt like I had enough money to close the laptop, she was 20. She didn't want to play catch. She was a grown woman with her own life, her own secrets, and her own pain. And I was just some friendly guy who paid for her college. I tried to fix it when I was 50, but you can't buy back a Saturday afternoon with a 7-year-old. That moment is gone. It has infinite value, and I sold it for a spreadsheet. If you are sacrificing your happiness or your family for a later that is 5 years away, stop. You're gambling with money you don't have. You're assuming you'll be alive in 5 years. You're assuming they will be. That's a staggering amount of arrogance. At 69, I look at my old address book, an old physical one I still keep, and I see names crossed out in black ink. Friends who thought they had time. Colleagues who were going to travel the world after retirement, only to get a diagnosis 2 weeks after their farewell party. They saved their money, they saved their vacation days, they saved their love, and they died with all of it still in the bank. It took me 47 years to realize I was walking around wearing a mask, a heavy, exhausting mask. I built this thing out of my job title, my car, the neighborhood I lived in. I thought this mask protected me. I thought it made me a man. I spent my 30s and 40s absolutely terrified of looking like a failure. I was obsessed with status. I had to be the smartest guy in the room. I had to be right. God, I needed to be right about everything. I treated conversations like battles I had to win. I treated my marriage like a negotiation to be dominated. I remember these stupid arguments with my wife. Petty stuff, directions, politics, how to load the dishwasher. I fought those battles like they were wars for survival. If I admitted I was wrong, I felt like I would die. I chose being right over being happy. I chose my ego over her feelings. And you know what? I won. I won the arguments. I proved I was right. And I lost the marriage. She left when I was 46. That was the crack in the mask that finally made me wake up. But by then, the damage was done. You can't love someone when you're hiding behind a wall. You're safe back there, but you're alone. You're dying of loneliness while everyone claps for your shiny exterior. Here's something nobody tells you when you're young. Success is a terrible goal. And I say this as someone who achieved everything I set out to achieve. I made partner at my firm. I bought the house. I had the respect of my colleagues. And you know what? None of it mattered. You achieve your goal, and for about 48 hours, you feel amazing. Then the feeling fades. You're back to baseline. Now you need a new goal, a bigger achievement, more validation. It's a hamster wheel. Let me tell you a secret about status from a 69-year-old perspective. Nobody cares. Nobody cares what my job title was in 1995. Nobody cares what car I drove in 2005. Nobody remembers those presentations I stayed up all night perfecting. When you get to my age, you realize that status is just a game you play with people who don't matter, using money you don't really have to impress people you don't even like. I look back at the energy I spent trying to maintain an image, the anxiety, the sweat, the sleepless nights wondering what people thought of me. It was all a waste. It was all smoke. I was putting on a show for an audience that had already left the theater. If I could talk to my 30-year-old self, I'd tell him to drop the act. Say I don't know more often. Say I'm sorry more often. Say I'm scared. Being vulnerable is the only thing that creates true connection. And connection, real, messy, human connection, is the only thing that makes this ride bearable. I chose to be tough, and I ended up isolated. I'm 69, and honestly, I'm in pain. It's not the kind of pain that makes you scream. It's just always there. My knees hurt when it rains. My back locks up if I sit in a soft chair for too long. My energy is a limited resource. I have to budget it like a fixed income. If I do too much gardening on Tuesday, I'm useless on Wednesday. For 47 years, I treated my body like a rental car that I didn't care about. I drove it into the ground. I slammed on the brakes. I poured coffee and alcohol into the tank instead of water. I ignored every check engine light when it flickered. I slept 4 hours a night and called it hustle. I sat in a chair for 12 hours a day, staring at a screen, and called it dedication. I thought my body was just transportation, just something to get my brain to meetings. I thought health was something you fixed when it broke, like changing a tire. I was wrong. Your body isn't a rental. It's the only house you actually own, and you can't move out of it. At 47, the bill came due. I had a massive health scare, high blood pressure, pre-diabetic, cortisol levels through the roof. The doctor, a guy younger than me, looked at my chart and said, "Sir, you are aging at twice the speed of a normal man. If you continue this pace, you will not see 60. That terrified me. I tried to reverse it. I started walking. I ate the salads. I quit the cigars. And yeah, I stayed alive. I am here. But, and listen to me closely, you cannot undo 47 years of neglect. The wear and tear is permanent. The cartilage doesn't grow back. The damage to the arteries leaves scars. I'm paying taxes now on the stress I consumed 30 years ago. Young people, and by young, I mean anyone under 60, listen to me. You think you're invincible. You think you can abuse your body now and get in shape later. You think, I'll focus on my health when I get that promotion, or I'll sleep when the baby grows up. It never calms down. There is always another reason to neglect yourself. The debt you are racking up in your body comes with compound interest. The stress you swallow today becomes the ulcer of tomorrow. The sleep you skip today becomes the cognitive decline of the next decade. I would give every dollar I earned in my 40s, every bonus, every raise, to have the knees I had in my 30s. But there is no exchange rate for that. You cannot buy health once it is gone. This is the hardest part to talk about. It still brings a lump to my throat. For 47 years, I lived with the subconscious belief that everyone I loved would just be there forever. I treated people like fixtures in a house, always there, needing no maintenance. I took my parents for granted. I took my friends for granted. I assumed that if I didn't call them this week, they would be there next week. My father called me one Tuesday evening. I was tired. He just wanted to chat. He wanted to talk about the weather or the baseball game or something trivial. I was busy. I was always so damn busy. I rushed him off the phone. I said, "Pop, I'm swamped. I'll talk to you on Sunday." "Okay, son," he said. Sunday. Then, on Saturday morning, my mother called. He was gone. Massive heart attack while mowing the lawn. He died on a Saturday. I promised him Sunday. That silence on the phone when my mum told me, I still hear it. When you are 69, you become a historian of your own life. You look back and you realize that you lived through golden eras that you didn't even recognize at the time. There was a time when all your friends lived in the same city and you could see them whenever you wanted. That was a golden era, and you probably spent it worrying about finding a partner or making more money. There was a time when your kids thought you could fix anything. That was a golden era, and you probably spent it complaining about being tired. There was a time when your parents were healthy and active and could give you advice. That was a golden era. It took me 47 years to realize that the good old days are happening right now. They are happening while you are stressed about the mortgage. They are happening while you are stuck in traffic. They are happening while you are arguing about the dishwasher. I missed so many of those moments because I was mentally somewhere else. I was physically at the dinner table, but mentally in a board meeting. I was physically at the park pushing a swing, but mentally replaying an argument with a colleague. You do not have unlimited time with anyone. Every time you see a loved one, every time you hear their voice, you need to treat it like it could be the last time, because statistically, one day you will be right. I stayed in a job I hated for 22 years, 2 decades. Why? Because it was safe, because it paid the bills, because it offered a dental plan, because I was afraid of the unknown. I had dreams. We all do. I wanted to start a woodworking shop. I loved the smell of sawdust and the feel of grain under my fingers. I wanted to build furniture, real stuff people could use. I wanted to write. I wanted to teach. But I told myself, that's irresponsible. I have a family to support. I have a mortgage. I'll do the woodworking when I retire. I'll write the book when I retire. Well, I am retired now, and I don't have the energy to start a shop. My hands shake too much for fine detail work. My eyes aren't sharp enough. The passion has cooled into a dull regret. The mistake wasn't taking care of my family. The mistake was calling it practical when it was really just fear. I spent 47 years creating a life that looked good on paper instead of a life that felt good in my soul. I traded my passion for a pension, and looking back, I realized that the risk wasn't in leaving the job. The risk was in staying. The risk was spending my one precious, unrepeatable life doing something that made me miserable for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Think about the math of that. That is the majority of your waking life spent in a state of low-grade misery. If you have a gnawing feeling in your gut that you are on the wrong path, do not ignore it like I did. Do not numb it with alcohol or Netflix. That feeling is your life trying to get your attention. It is your soul banging on the door. Turn the ship. It is harder to turn the ship at 47 than at 27. And let me tell you, it is damn near impossible at 69. Safety is an illusion. You can play it safe your whole life and still get hit by a bus. You can stay in the secure job and still get laid off. So, you ask, what happened at 47? Why was that the year the lights came on? It wasn't a single lightning bolt. It wasn't a near death experience in a car crash. It was a slow accumulation of darkness, followed by a moment of blinding clarity. My wife had left the year before. My father had passed away. My daughter was distant, living in a different state. And then I achieved it. I achieved the biggest promotion of my career, the Holy Grail. I was named senior partner. I got the corner office with the view of the city skyline. The salary was astronomical. I remember walking into that office the first morning. It smelled of lemon polish and new leather. The desk was massive, mahogany, empty. I placed a single framed photo on it, a picture of my daughter from when she was 7, smiling with missing teeth. I had kept that photo in every office for 15 years. It was my why. I sat down in the chair. I spun around to look at the view. It was everything I had worked for since I was 22. It was the summit of the mountain. And I felt nothing. Actually, that's a lie. I didn't feel nothing. I felt panic. I looked at that photo and realized I didn't know her anymore. Didn't know what music she listened to. Didn't know if she was happy. Didn't know anything. I looked at the empty chair across from me where a client would sit, and I realized I had no one to call to share this victory with. No wife, no dad. My friends were just business associates who wanted my job. I put my head down on that big desk and cried. I cried because I realized I had spent 47 years climbing a ladder, climbing a mountain, clawing my way up the rocks, bleeding and sweating, only to reach the top and realize I was leaning against the wrong wall. The view from the top didn't fix the hole in my chest. The money didn't buy back the time. The title didn't keep me warm at night. That was the moment the sleepwalking ended. That was the moment I realized I had been scammed, not by society, not by the man, but by myself, by my own fear, by my own greed. For the last 22 years, from 47 to 69, I have been trying to pick up the pieces. I have been trying to glue the vase back together. Some things I managed to fix. I rebuilt a relationship with my daughter. It wasn't easy. It took years. It took humility. It took me flying to her city and sitting in her living room, listening to her tell me how angry she was. It took me apologizing without making excuses. It took me swallowing my pride. We talk now. We have dinner once a month. Last year, she asked me to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. That was the proudest moment of my life. There's still a scar. We are close now, but I missed her becoming a woman. I missed the teenage years. I missed the heartbreaks and the triumphs of her 20s. I don't have the 1,000 small memories that fathers who were present have. The relationship we have now is real, and it is precious, but it is built on the foundation of an absence, and we both feel it. We both know what is missing. I improved my health. I walk every day. I eat well, but I cannot run. My joints are shot. I manage my decline. That is the best I can do. You cannot make up for lost time. It doesn't work that way, but you can stop digging the hole. You cannot fix the past, but you can honor it by not repeating it. You can live the remaining years with a ferocity and an intentionality that honors the time you wasted. You can be present now as an apology to the past. I look around at the world today and I see millions of people running the same race I ran. It breaks my heart. I see young guys bragging about working 80-hour weeks, not sleeping, grinding nonstop. I want to reach through the screen and shake them. I want to say, "You are burning the furniture to heat the house. You are destroying the engine to win the first lap of a 100-lap race." I see parents handing their children iPads so they can answer work emails, telling themselves they are providing for the child's future. Listen to me. You are providing money, but you are starving them of you. And a child can survive without the latest sneakers, but they cannot thrive without your eyes looking into theirs. I see people terrified of public opinion, terrified of being cancelled, terrified of standing out. They mold themselves into bland, inoffensive shapes. They die without anyone ever knowing who they really were. And I see people my age, men and women, in their 60s, sinking into bitterness. They are angry at the world, angry at how fast it changed, angry that they followed the rules and still didn't get the happy ending they were promised. Don't become bitter, please. Bitterness is drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It rots you from the inside out. If you are in your 50s or 60s watching this and you feel the panic rising in your throat, I see you. I know what you are feeling. I know the quiet desperation of looking at the calendar, doing the math, and realizing there is more road behind you than ahead of you. I know the temptation to just coast, to give up, to say, "Well, I made my bed, now I have to lie in it." It's too late to change. Do not do that. The realization at 47 was painful. It felt like breaking a bone that had healed wrong so it could be set right. But the years between 47 and 69 have been the only years I have truly lived. It is not too late to apologize, even if the person is gone. Write the letter, go to the grave, say the words out loud, clean the slate of your soul. It matters. It is not too late to change direction. I learned Italian at 50. I'm not fluent, but I can order coffee in Rome. You might not build $1 billion empire, but you can certainly build a new joy. You can still learn to dance. You can still make a new friend. Stop hoarding. Stop hoarding your money for a rainy day. Look out the window, it's raining. Stop saving the good china. Use it tonight. Stop hoarding your love for fear of rejection. Use your regret as fuel. Shame is a useless emotion. It fixes nothing. It just makes you hide. But regret can be a powerful engine. Let it light a fire that warms what remains of your life. I want to leave you with one memory, one final story. When I was 47, shortly after my awakening, I went to visit an old uncle of mine. He was in hospice care. He was dying of pancreatic cancer. He was 82 years old. He was a man who had lived a hard life, a successful life, by the metrics of his time. He was stoic. He rarely showed emotion. I sat by his bed. The room smelled of antiseptic and wilting flowers. He was so thin, barely a shape under the sheets. Suddenly, he opened his eyes. He grabbed my wrist. His hands were shaking. He pulled me close, so close I could smell the decay on his breath. He said, I wish I hadn't worried so much." That was it. That was his final wisdom. Not, "I wish I worked harder." Not, "I wish I had more money." Not, "I wish I had a bigger house." "I wish I hadn't worried so much." I walked out of that hospital room into the parking lot and I looked at the sky and I realized most of the stuff I worried about never even happened. And the stuff that did happen, the divorce, the health scares, The market crashes. I handled them. I got through them. Worrying didn't stop them from happening. It didn't prepare me for them. It just robbed me of the peace I could have had beforehand. I carried that worry for 47 years. It etched lines into my face. It poured acid into my stomach. It kept me awake for thousands of hours. And it accomplished nothing. I am asking you, begging you, to put the worry down. It serves no master but the devil. It solves no problem. It pays no debt. Being 69 isn't all bad. I want you to know that so you don't fear getting here. When you finally let go of the ambition, the ego, and the need to prove yourself, a silence falls. It is scary at first, but if you can sit in that silence, it starts to feel good. You start to appreciate the small things, the things you walk past 1,000 times, the taste of a tomato grown in your own garden, the sound of rain on the roof, the feeling of a dog's head resting on your knee. My life is smaller now. I have fewer friends, but they are real friends. The kind who would drive me to the hospital at 3 a.m. I have less money, but I have enough. I have less time, but the time I have is thick. It is heavy with meaning. This morning, I sat on my porch and drank a cup of coffee. I watched the sun come up through the trees. I didn't have a phone in my hand. I didn't have a meeting to get to. I didn't have a list of tasks running through my head. I just watched the light change the color of the leaves from gray to green to gold, and I felt a moment of pure, unadulterated joy. It took me 70 years to learn how to sit still with a cup of coffee, to just be, to realize that the point of life is not to get somewhere else, but to be where you are. Don't wait that long. Please, for the love of God, don't wait that long. If I could condense 69 years of life, 47 years of mistakes, and 22 years of rehabilitation into a single message, it would be this: you are not as important as you think you are, and you are more loved than you know. Your job will replace you in 2 weeks. They'll clean out your desk. Someone else will take your meetings. The world will keep spinning without your input. You are not essential to the machine, but to the people in your life, your spouse, your parents, your children, your friends. You are irreplaceable. You are the whole world. You are the only father they have, the only mother, the only friend. I spent 47 years trying to be essential to the machine and incidental to the people. Flip that equation. Flip it today. I am 69. My eyes are getting dimmer. I move slower. I read the obituaries, and I recognize the names. The sun is setting on my day. The shadows are getting long. But the light, oh, the light is golden in the evening. I lost the morning of my life. I lost the high noon of my life. I lost them to the fog of later and the armor of ego. But I have the evening, and I am not going to waste a single second of the sunset. Don't be like me. Don't wait until the sun is going down to realize how beautiful the day was. Look up from your screen. Look at the person next to you. Look at your own hands. You are here. You are alive. You have air in your lungs. You have made mistakes, yes, but you are still in the game. Wake up. The life you are waiting for is not over the horizon. It is not in the next promotion. It is not in the retirement account. Said, it is right here. It is the only thing that is real. I wasted 47 years. I can't get them back. But you have today. I'm 69. I finally woke up. Don't wait as long as I did.